Hello everybody, welcome back to Simple Living Happy Home. I am not doing an actual intro to this video because it is going to be long enough as it is. So I wanted to just kind of get started with explaining what's going on. Again, working on the basement bathroom project. Now, what you're seeing happened probably about 2 months ago. It's taken a long time for me to kind of compile everything for this video and the different stages, and it's been a process and a project, but the ending result is looking really good. I'm really excited for you guys to see what it looks like at the end of things. So right now what I'm working on is the mudding and taping for the drywall, the new wall that my husband put up. I can tell you for a fact that I did not do this correctly as far as how you're supposed to mud and tape and the order and the fading and all of that. I am not a professional drywaller. So I already know that I did not do this completely correctly. I get that. I know it. It is what it is. But I did do it myself, so I can at least say that. When you see the end product, you can't really tell that I didn't do it correctly. I can tell that it wasn't done quite correctly because I know like what I'm looking at and where everything was and all the errors, and I'm sure somebody who's a professional drywaller can look at it and go, oh yeah, that wasn't done correctly. I get it, you know, I'm not a professional at this. I was just trying to make it work and trying to make sure that this didn't cost us an arm and a leg and the extra time of having to get somebody out to do it. So I did the best I could, and I also learned that of all the different pieces of the project that we did, mudding and taping is not something that I want to do in the future. So when we work on the other side of the bathroom, or on the other side of the basement where the living room sitting area is going to be, that is definitely going to be a call somebody in to do the drywalling, because I do not want to deal with that at all. And we are going to need some drywalling on the other side. So a lot of things happened. Like I said, this has been a couple months now of putting all of this stuff together for the basement, and it's been a rough couple months for our family. We have one less dog in the house. So as I was doing this, my husband and I were kind of struggling with needing to rehome one of our dogs because our dogs were not getting along, and the last fight they had resulted in me having to get 4 stitches in my hand from trying to break up the fight myself, and to have to call the dog trainer that we had been working with and talk to her about what was going on, what I observed during that particular fight. And she basically explained that at this point, the chances of them, even if we do the most intense, board and train thing with her that we could, the chance of them being able to live peacefully together is only about 50% success. So it was a rough January because we had to kind of come to terms with that, make that decision, and then we actually, thankfully, and I would say there was some divine intervention there, but a family member was able to take Axel, our pit bull, because he was going to be the easier of our 2 dogs to rehome. So that ended up really working out. Like I said, that was really divine intervention, because just crate and rotate and keep them separated at all times in the house, including keeping them separated when we were in the house. And we had been doing that for probably a week or so, and it was just not going well. It was really a lot of stress on us. It was a lot of stress on the dogs, because they didn't have free run of the house anymore, and they both had to be locked up when we were gone so that there was no issues of, intimidation to each other when they were in the kennels and causing problems there. So, like I said, divine intervention definitely came into play here, and we did get Axel rehomed fairly quickly within a few weeks, which was really nice. And so at this point, we are a 1-dog household, and we will remain a 1-dog household until our current dog has passed on. And then we are looking at getting probably 2 dogs. Likely we will get 2 puppies from the same litter, either litter mates or at least both of them being puppies, and they will get raised together and just, yeah, we're gonna do that a little bit differently than what we did this time around. So live and learn. My husband also, and the reason why this project has taken as long as it has is because my husband started nursing school in January. So our original plan was actually for him to go to physician assistant school, and things didn't work out. God decided that was not the route that we were going to take, and it was really kind of, again, divine intervention, because prior to my husband submitting his application, he and I had talked about, how are we going to handle the different potential responses we could get to this grad school, PA thing. And so we both said, best case scenario is he gets an interview and he gets accepted and he's going to PA school. Next best scenario is he just gets told no. It's just a flat no. They don't do an interview, nothing. Because we both kind of came to terms with that if they looked at his application and everything and they didn't even feel like they wanted to talk to him as far as having an interview, then there was really nothing else that he could do to improve or change his application in a year to be able to reapply, in which case if it was just a flat no, then okay, then that's not going to be the route for us to go, and we're going to move on. He's going to move on to doing nursing or something else. The worst case scenario was going to be if they called him in for an interview and then either waitlisted him or said no at that point, because then we'd be kind of left with this question mark of, well, was it just that there were other applicants that they were more in favor of and accepted in front of him, but he would have been an applicant that they would have looked at admitting. And thankfully, I think for both his mental state and mine, and just our being able to do our future plans, like I said, the answer was a hard no. Didn't get an interview, which on the one hand was too bad, but like I said, at the same time, there was some divine intervention there, because that gave us a very clear direction in where we were going to be going with the future, what we were going to be doing with our lives and what was going to be happening within the next couple of years. So although it was disappointing for him, I know it was a firm answer. It wasn't kind of a question mark, and so we did appreciate that part. So in January, my husband started the nursing program at the local community college, and that has definitely kind of eaten up quite a bit of the time that he would have been spending working on home projects, but it's also a good thing that he is doing the program, and very supportive of him, and he's doing well and things are going well. And we still have been able to work on projects and get things done. The really nice thing was that with the PA school application, he had to take certain classes as prerequisites, but since he didn't get in, those classes also happened to be the prerequisites for the nursing program as well, or some of them that you would take during the first couple semesters concurrently in the nursing program. And so what this has allowed basically is that he is doing the nursing classes, but he doesn't have a full caseload or class load because he already took all those prerequisite classes previously. So it is making his first semester or two much lighter and much easier, and so that has helped quite a bit. But he is still doing classes, and that is still taking up some of his time. So things have slowed down a bit, but we are still making progress. Hi everybody, I'm back. I've been working down in my basement. This is several days later, or maybe a week later. It's been a while. I have now cleaned off the walls, which just cleaning off the walls has made a huge difference in here. I mean, it looks so much better. Cleaned off the walls. I cleaned off all of the stuff up in the ceiling here, all of these air ducts and things, so that's ready for paint. Now I'm gonna actually take the plastic and I'm gonna run the plastic around the room so that way it's ready to go, and then it will be ready for my husband to paint, which I'm excited for. I also tried, yesterday I went to town and I picked up a paint sample to try to color match the wallpaper that I got, and this was the result. So this is the wallpaper that I'm going to be using, and they ended up like color matching to the darker shade on the blue flower, which is how we got this. I originally was hoping that they could do like the darker on the purple, but I don't know. I don't not like it. Apparently that's like more of like a sage green is like the color of the year. One of the gals I work with told me. I don't know, but I might go get a couple more samples of like the dark purple and then like the darker green, maybe like up here, and just see how that looks. Because since this is a basement bathroom, I only have one window. I don't want this basement to feel like a dungeon. I don't want it feeling like you're underground and it's dark and dreary. I want it to have some life to it, so that's why I wanted to do like the floral wallpaper and just kind of, I'm going to end up probably putting a plant or two in this window because it is a south-facing window, so it gets a decent amount of sunlight too. And now I'm going to start hanging plastic. My husband said, oh, there's plenty of plastic out in the garage. This is the plastic that we used to put underneath the drywall in our garage. So it's pretty heavy stuff. So I'm not sure our painter's tape is going to hold that up. We'll find out. I did get the extra wide painter's tape though, so hopefully. So the process of putting up this plastic, the bottom of it actually went fairly smoothly. It was a little bit of a pain as I had to kind of hold it up against the wall myself until I got the tape kind of started and enough of it on there because I had it going all the way down to the floor. So the majority of the weight really was not on the tape. It was sitting on the floor, and then the tape was just kind of holding it against the wall. So doing this bottom portion was actually not too bad. The plastic, like I said, it's really thick, heavy-duty stuff. That was what we used as the vapor barrier in our garage when we insulated and did the ceiling in there. So this is not like the light painter's plastic. This is really heavy-duty stuff. So, I mean, it worked. It did the job, and like I said, the tape was able to hold it up against the wall for the bottom section. The top became a much larger problem. Now, this is going to be the pain in the butt because all of this stuff coming down from the ceiling, like the I-beam there we go. Oh, no, there. The I-beam there actually comes down. So I'm going to have to cut the plastic, and then over on this side, the new wall that we put up, like, it starts off straight, and then we got a section for all of the heating, and then it goes back up, and this is not going to be fun. So ironically, dealing with all of the like cut-ins and all of that was actually not that bad. It actually went pretty well, I'm pleased to say. I didn't have a whole lot of issues with that. The biggest problem that I had was actually getting the plastic to stay up because, again, this is heavy, thick plastic, and that painter's tape was nowhere near strong enough to hold it up by itself. So I got frustrated really quickly with this and learned as you can see relatively fast, that painter's tape was not going to be sufficient. That wasn't going to hold it up, but I didn't want to use any stronger of a tape because I didn't want it to damage the walls, because then I'd have to fix that too. Sometimes you just have to get a better tool. It's the next day. My husband came home and finally found the staple gun. Not real happy. Seriously. That is gonna cover the window. Alright, well, I gotta put the tape up around the top edge yet so that it doesn't seep down underneath the plastic, but so my intent that previous day was to be able to get all the plastic hung, and I searched and searched and searched for that staple gun. Could not find it anywhere. I called my husband, asked him where he put it. He gave me a general idea of, a place or two to look, but I was not finding it at all. So eventually I actually just gave up that day and just like, okay, fine, I'm done fighting with this. And just relaxed the rest of the evening as I was kind of grumbling about it because I was very, very frustrated with that. So I did, again, the other challenge about this plastic was that it was so not just heavy, but it's also very, very long. So one piece basically covered half of the wall space of the room. So it just kind of kept going, and that also made its own set of challenges. After I got the staples to actually hold the plastic up, then I did take tape and I went around the top edge to make sure that when my husband did spray paint the ceiling, that it wouldn't get in behind the plastic and get onto the walls or drip down or anything. I wanted it to be nice and crisp and clean, and that worked actually really, really well. I'm really pleased with how that all turned out, but we did end up having to go around with a screwdriver and pull all of the staples out of the wall, which also was a bit of a challenge, but I got her done. And so like I said, I did end up having to trim around with the plastic around the I-beams and the ventilation and everything, but that actually wasn't too difficult. I managed to get this top layer of plastic hung and taped up within probably half hour, 45 minutes, and I was done with it. So it was relatively quick, and I think that's probably part of what irritated me so bad about the day before, is that it actually didn't take me very long. It wasn't a super long, intensive process. It just, I needed the tools in order to be able to do it, and I couldn't find those, which was super frustrating. In amongst all of the work on the bathroom, my husband and I were also working on getting ready for potentially participating in the farmers markets this year. So my husband is a really good baker. He's a really good cook, and we have quite a few farmers markets that are relatively close by. So between what my husband bakes and I knit, I make knitted socks and headbands and that sort of stuff, we decided we were going to try to make a go of participating in the local farmers markets as a way to kind of support our income a little bit, you know, not necessarily get it to the point where we can do that full time and that's how we make a living. Like, we're not going to be able to make enough money doing farmers markets to be able to do that. But if we can at least make enough to supplement our income that, you know, if I decide that I don't want to work full time and I want to be able to spend a bit more time at home, that I could decrease my hours and we wouldn't really feel much effect from it financially. So my husband was busy with figuring out his recipes and that sort of stuff, and I have been doing what he calls my infernal knitting. So I'm building up a stockpile of socks and headbands and all that sort of stuff on top of doing this project. So, you know, add that to why it took us so long to be able to get through this part of the project, and also why you haven't seen anything from me on this project in several months. So above the door there is actually a big support beam that is structural, so not something we want to cut into, not something we can remove or move at all. It's got to stay where it is. And instead of having it be super visible and trying to figure out how we were going to hide it, I decided that what we would do would be to actually paint it black along with the ceiling, so it would just kind of blend in. And you'll see later on that actually did end up working out really good. These two hoses that I am cutting around right now, those are actually going to be the supply lines for the tub. I know they're both blue. My husband had more blue PEX than he had red, so they are both blue, even though one is a hot water line. But they both got painted black along with the ceiling, so you couldn't have been able to tell if they were hot or cold, red or blue, whatever. We wouldn't be able to see that anyway. So we didn't really care what color the PEX actually were. So the reason why he had to do that was because he had to run the water lines through the ceiling, but he had to get them down to the floor, and I didn't want them like visibly coming down on one of the walls. So he actually brought them down, sent them to the back of the wall. My daughter is chatting up a storm and she's supposed to be napping. But I sent them through the wall, or he sent them through the wall in the back, so then they can go down to the floor level, and then he'll run the lines along the baseboard to then hook up the water for the tub. But that's why they're there, and that's why they had to be there. Here we are. Plastic is all up, taped up around the top edges of the ceiling. Working around all of the random air duct stuff. That support up there, that's going to be black as well. So, and we've got a good amount of overlap there, so we shouldn't have any paint working its way back up that plastic. It's all the way down to the floor. Covering all that up. So now he'll just have to deal with the light fixtures and the fan, and he will be able to start painting. So I did give him the deadline of having the ceiling painted by the end of this week. So better be done, because that was really irritating trying to find that staple gun. Hello again, everybody. This is, stage 6 of this process. I took that wallpaper down and I primed those 2 spots that I put paint on the wall. So those are ready for us to actually give a final coat of paint to. And then the wallpaper is going to go up over that. So I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to show through the wallpaper. But our 2 new walls have been primed. So we have a nice big clean slate, and then that one is primed as well. So they are ready for wallpaper to go up. And my husband is taking a nap at the moment. So I am going to start working on painting the lower 2/3 of the wall with the green that we bought. We picked the paint up yesterday. Well, hello everybody. Again, welcome back to my basement bathroom. And as you can see, we have wallpaper up. And we have the bottoms of the walls painted. And we yesterday just got started on putting up the board and batten. I need to sand down and touch up those spots that we had to use a little bit of wood filler on from screwing the boards in place. But this and cleaning the floor is going to be the last thing we can do before the guys come tomorrow to put down our new flooring, which I'm really excited for. So several things happened between the last narration and now this one. We obviously got the wallpaper up. That was definitely a joint effort between my husband and I. I would not have been able to do it by myself if it would not been for him, because the walls in the basement are not flat and they are not straight. So there was a lot of just coordination, team effort to prevent any wrinkles in the wallpaper and making sure that it laid flat and that the patterns lined up. Overall, it ended up looking really, really nice. I am so thankful for having him there to help with it, because if it wouldn't have been for him, I probably would have given up on the wallpaper. But thankfully he was there to really help with that, and that made a huge difference for me to be able to get that done and still kind of keep that vision. After we got the wallpaper done, he was then able to use the trim for the crown molding and doing the edging around all of the different I-beams and going around the supports and stuff. So we used the same crown trim for the horizontal pieces, but then for any of the vertical spots, we actually got the little, I don't know, they must have been like a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square dowel. Painted those, and then he cut those to basically span the distance between the top of the crown molding on one end and the bottom of the next one. And so just kind of use that to continue that crown kind of coming down so that the edges continue to look nice and smooth and seamless and uniform. In amongst this process, and again, why it took so long to get through this part, largely also got contributed to by a really nasty sickness being in our house for about a month. First, my daughter had it, and then my husband had it, and then I got it. So you'll notice that I sound a little congested. At this point, I was kind of nearing the tail end of it. I think this was shortly like the weekend before I ended up going to the doctor, because I ended up with a full-blown bacterial sinus infection and viral bronchitis all at the same time. I have never had a sinus infection before. I have never had bronchitis before, and I got both of them, and it stunk. So that also definitely slowed me down. I wasn't able to do as much downstairs either. But thank goodness for doctors and medications and getting me back on my feet, and I was able to get down there and finish up this part of the project. So now we've got the board and batten up and all of those spots touched up and cleaned up, so that way it looks nice and seamless, and yeah, it's just looking really good down there. Okay. Now you can still see where the wet paint is, but man, look at that. Yes, there is blue painter's tape on the wall, so my husband knows where the furring strips and the studs are for when we do the vertical pieces of the board and batten down below. But that's looking so good, and I put a second coat on the post there, so that's looking nice and covered. But oh man, that's looking so good. So good. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. Okay, I'm gonna end the video here because we've got the flooring guys coming out, and that's gonna really change a lot of this, and it's gonna be a very different part of the process now once they get the flooring in. Is now we're gonna be finishing up the board and batten and the walls, doing more of the finish work. And then my husband's actually gonna start working on getting the tub and the vanity, which we have both of. He's gonna start working on getting the tub and the vanity in here. All right, well, thanks so much for coming along on this pretty lengthy but pretty exciting ride. We've had some hiccups along the way, but we've been actually making some really good progress. A lot of things have happened in the process of getting this bathroom done, both with the actual bathroom as well as just in our daily lives. So it's taken me a long time to kind of get this portion of the video done and giving you guys a good update on where we're at. But thanks for sticking it out, and I will hopefully be seeing you when we have a finished floor too. So, all right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.